What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Turnbuckle Topix podcast. I'm your host, Pat Dineen, alongside yet again the associate. And these are our predictions for AEW Revolution. Looking forward to tonight. It should be a pretty good card. As of this recording, we have 8 matches scheduled. Of course, Kev, you know how this goes. We do predictions for 8 or 9 matches. And by the time the show starts, we have 13 or 14 matches, which we still do get our predictions in amongst one another. But
Right.
Tony Khan is known to throw some last minute pre-matches, pre-show matches rather. Maybe add a couple to the main card. Nonetheless, we're looking at 5 championship matches, only one women's match. Jade Cargill will not be defending her TBS championship, so we'll only have the AEW Women's World Championship on the line here. Going to get to all of it in just a little bit. Again, this is taking place in San Francisco, California, at the Chase Center. This is the 4th rendition of Revolution, which started back in 2020. You want to go through a little history of that? I got it right here in front of me. And then, of course, we'll get to our picks and anything you want to speak on in regards to this pay-per-view.
Right. Yeah. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. So this is their 4th Revolution pay-per-view, dating back to 2020. The first one took place at the Wintrust Arena in Chicago, Illinois. Now, you have to remember, AEW, by this standpoint, was only a few pay-per-views in to their early start with the company. The first episode, I believe, was October of 2019, AEW Dynamite. Now, after AEW Revolution, which was late February, early March, what happened? The pandemic hit. So before you knew it, we were in Jacksonville, Florida at Daly's Place for the better part of a year and a half after this. So who would have thought, right? This card, we had 9 matches, 2 pre-show matches, 7 main card matches. A few of the featured matches here that took place at the first Revolution in 2020. Darby Allin defeated Sammy Guevara. Kenny Omega and Adam Page were the tag team champions at the time, who defeated the Young Bucks. MJF defeated Cody Rhodes, and Moxley defeated Jericho, winning that AEW World title. We're going to head over to the following year. Again, we were still at Daly's Place in Jacksonville, Florida, Revolution 2021. Again, 9 matches. This time, I believe it was only 1 pre-show match, 8 on the main card. A few of the featured matches here was the Young Bucks, the tag champions, who defeated, at the time, the inner circles. Jericho and MJF was with them at the time. Scorpio Sky, as we talked about in the last episode, Dynamite, won that Face of the Revolution ladder match. Omega, who was the champion at the time, defeated Moxley in that quite comical exploding barbed wire death match to retain his title. Now, you remember the conclusion of that one, there was a pyro mishap, and Eddie Kingston dove onto Jon Moxley. Of course, the internet did not waste any time as far as absolutely tearing that up. So before I get to the 2022 Revolution card and notes and stuff like that, what do you remember most fondly about that whole exploding barbed wire, or lack thereof, to conclude the show? Because it was a
Well,
good card. It was a good card, but everybody
right.
remembered that. It was the end.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say a lot of people tend to forget that card was really stacked. It did really well, and then like at the end, there was this terrible fizzle out, if you want to call it. I don't know. It was just super comical at the time. And I just remember it feeling like not just an embarrassment for the company, but I felt like an embarrassment for the wrestling community. Like, damn it, come on! Like, we already get made fun of for whatever reasons.
Yeah.
Uh, but I also do remember immediately them, you know, Moxley and Kingston being able to kind of like nip that in the bud. Um, that following Dynamite episode, and they were just they were able to like kind of like joke at it, and at the same time while taking the situation like seriously and trying to steer away from that situation while trying to also develop that the like next ongoing feud. But yeah, that night
They
is
did make light of it. Yeah.
yeah, that
Wait,
that night is very infamous for AEW fans, I will say.
maybe it's just me, but I know we've spoke about this numerous times in the past. It always seems like, whether it is a pyro mishap, whether it's been numerous times with the microphone, it always seems that it involves Jon Moxley. You ever notice that? And then he's always got to right the wrongs or say something about it.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
he's always stuck in the midst of chaos for some reason. I mean, I guess it's part of his persona, so who
And
better? But
and and props to him for being the amazing professional that he is, and him being able to roll with the punches. Whether it's
mhm.
the mic going out and him. trying to power through three different times, and just if
Yeah,
he has if he has to drop a couple F-bombs and get the crowd going by just cheering the local sports team, or
yeah, right, right, right.
powering through this mishap of like a fizzle, not a bang.
Yeah, that was something. That was definitely something. And
Props, yeah, to him. I don't know why it always ends up being him.
he's always in the midst of it. Well, hey, let's head over to Revolution of last year, and then we'll head into obviously what we're looking at for the night. Revolution of last year also took place in Florida. It was in Orlando, Florida this time. Now, this is where they went away from 9 matches, like the two prior years, and they went to uh, 12 matches in total. Now, there were 9 main card matches, but they had 3 on the pre-show. A few of the matches that took place here was Eddie Kingston defeating Chris Jericho, Jurassic Express retaining their tag titles in a 3-way match against Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish of Red Dragon, and the Young Bucks. CM Punk defeated MJF in that dog collar match, and Britt Baker defeated Thunder Rosa. Now I don't know what you thought about this, but I thought that this is where Thunder Rosa was going to dethrone Britt Baker. However, that was not the case to become the new AEW Women's World Champion. It did, in fact, though, happen just a few weeks later on 3/16. What better date? It's coming up in just a few days here. Got to celebrate 3/16 day. Crack a couple cold ones. I mean, hell, it's when we got engaged. Me and my lovely wife. So anyway, it happened in her hometown of San Antonio, Texas, at St. Patrick's Day Slam, and she defeated Britt Baker in a steel cage match. So the other match that took place was Moxley defeating Danielson, and of course, in the main event, Adam Page defeating Adam Cole to retain his AEW World Championship as well. So that was a pretty good card too. So we had 9, 9, 12. Again, as of this recording, we have 8. And we'll likely see probably 10. That would be my estimate. Again, the reason for us not probably seeing 12 matches is, again, that MJF Danielson 1 hour Iron Man match. That's going to take up a hell of a lot of time. Hence, as to why we got the Face of the Revolution ladder match taking place on Dynamite this past week, where Kev says they should replace the brass ring with an inflatable eggplant emoji. And we're going to see if we can get. No, he didn't say an eggplant emoji, but he did say that they should change it up. And I do agree with him. It does look a little silly. This is the 3rd year we've seen that up there. And I think it is time for something else, not a briefcase, but something else for them to go to that top of the ladder, grab it, and have a certain sense of accomplishment instead of it just looking kind of silly up there.
Right. Yeah. Um. Yeah. One can only hope that this, like I said on the prior episode, is that this pay per view ends up living up to expectations. When you look at the card from top to bottom, it's I'll be honest, it doesn't wow me, right? But just
Mm-hmm.
because on paper it doesn't really like I said, like it doesn't take my breath away. It's how these matches are performed, and then how whether these storylines pay off or not. So that's what I'm looking forward to. In terms of a number of matches, man, I really hope it stays to 8 matches, but I feel like that's unrealistic. Knowing Tony Khan, he will add either at least 1 or 2 more matches just so that he can end like on around a wall. I shouldn't say a round number, but like kind of like a 10 or something, 10, 14, whatever he wants to decide. And for me, and this is kind of like I don't know, maybe something new that he can test out, but like I would like them to do, I guess, like a 2 hour kickoff show or a pre-show, whatever you want to call it, rather than a 1 hour, just because sometimes those pre-show matches feel so rushed. I rather
Okay.
they knock, I rather they knock those out. Like, let's say, like if they did a pre-show starting at 6,
Mm-hmm.
start do the matches at 6, and then we have the whole 7 to 8 of them just going over, briefing the audience of like, oh, this is what's happening, leading into the pay-per-view. Kind of I like that dynamic, the way that back in the day where we had like a Sunday Night Heat. Is like I always refer to that show just because that was for me as a child. I loved Sunday Night Heat.
Great
Um,
show. I was a
yeah.
big fan. Big fan.
So, um, and that way, they can kind of play around with like with the time management there. Um, just because watching 10 straight matches in a row and like no filler in between, it's a lot.
It's a lot. Well, hey, the reason I think at minimum we're going to get 10 matches on tonight is because we have 8 right now. I
Yeah.
just looked up and down this card. I can't even justify one of these being on the pre-show. All 8 of these got to be on the main card. So I'm
Mhm.
thinking, at minimum they're going to throw us 2 pre-show matches last minute, as they typically do. That'll take us to 10, and I think that's fine. Again, I'm not opposed to the 2 hour pre-show too. It's enough time to roll out all your video packages for each feud in the midst to have 2 or 3 matches throughout. It's not rushed. It's you take your time. I know in theory, a 2 hour pre show does sound quite lengthy, but at the
Yeah.
same time, you don't have to watch the whole thing. It's a pre show. If you so choose to turn it on at 6 o'clock, whether it's background noise or, just to get into to the zone of it and to the mood of the pay per view, fine. But you also don't have to have it on 7 to 8, and make sure you have your eyes glued because all 2 or 3 pre show matches are happening. And even though we've seen most of the video packages on prior episodes of Rampage or Dynamite, but yeah, keep it to 10 at least as far as tonight is concerned, and we'll see. You'll have to go talk to TK and see if we could do a 2 hour pre-show.
Right,
And
because if this wasn't a an Iron Man match,
or
for
we're
that,
looking at minimum 12, and we're getting the face of the Revolution ladder match, which is one that should have been on this.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he had made this like a 15 card match if that was just a regular championship match with
With MJF.
yeah, with no extra.
All right. Well, hey, look, let's hop right into the matches that we do have here. We have 8 matches. Let's start off with the most recent edition, as we found out on Dynamite this week. We have Christian Cage going up against Jungle Boy Jack Perry in a no holds barred match. Who do you got winning this one?
I have Jungle Boy winning this one. I think that Christian is gonna do a lot of heelish tactics, a lot of sneaky things, push, uh, you know, Jungle Boy Jack Perry to the edge, where we start to see maybe he starts to get a little bit more aggressive, and then he pulls out the victory with the old what is it, snare trap?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I got to agree with you. I do see Jack Perry winning this match. I think it's very important, as we spoke about in the Dynamite review. This is the year that he really needs to break out as a single star
Mm-hmm.
on the mic, in the ring. That fourth pillar, I guess you could say he's the fourth and final one that really needs some momentum. He's the only one out of the 4 who haven't won a singles title yet. Darby and Sammy, multiple time TNT champions. MJF, the current AEW World Heavyweight Champion, of course. And although Jack Perry does have tag team gold from last year with Luchasaurus and was it Jungle Express, Jurassic Express rather. Um, he needs to really propel himself. And when we saw this video on Wednesday, when he had the shovel in the dirt, I was like, are they about to have like a buried alive match? Are we doing
Right.
some Undertaker Mankind stuff? I was kind of here for it. Not 2 people I would expect to be in that kind of match, but that'd be cool. I could see him doing that with Luchasaurus or something. Um, but yeah, Jungle Boy Jack Perry needs to get this win. It's imperative. And Christian Cage is the guy to put him over. He's
Right.
outstanding, as good as a face as he is. He's an amazing heel, and I think all of us would agree that going back to WWE for a minute, Edge and Christian, who have been together side by side for years at the Brood and as a tag team and such, Edge is, I think we'd all agree, is the better wrestler, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I gotta say though, as far as the heel's concerned, at least present day, um, Edge had a little bit of a heel run with the leader of Judgment Day for a few months last year, but man, I gotta say, Christian as a heel, especially on the microphone, is I kind of like him more as a on the mic. I don't know. I mean, Edge is great. Edge knows how to they're both great in their own right. The storytelling, the Edge has the faces, and you could name it, everything. But I don't know. Christian's kind of pulling me in more. Maybe it's because he's a little bit more of a jerk.
Right.
Maybe that's why it kind of gets under your skin a little more than an Edge on the microphone as a heel.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
yeah.
I definitely agree with that. I don't know, he's like that mosquito that bothers you. You know,
hmm Oh yeah, and
uh,
he won't go away. He hasn't went away in 6 months, so he's a good
right.
example. Let's go to this singles matchup here. We have Chris Jericho in a rematch going up against Ricky Starks. Now, the main thing here, which is very important to note, all of the members from the Jericho Appreciation Society are banned from ringside, which is huge. That's about, what, give or take, 8 people that cannot interfere, men and women. So, who do you have winning this?
For sure, I have, of course, the absolute centerpiece, Ricky Starks, winning this one. I think it's just going to help elevate his status, towards that main event picture.
Hmm. Well, again, I'm with you there. I'm going with Ricky Starks as well. It's all about these young guys
Right.
propelling their careers in AEW. They are
Hmm.
the future of pro wrestling. Whether or not they choose to stay with AEW, that's one thing or another. We know Ricky Starks is very good friends with Cody Rhodes, as he was backstage for the Royal Rumble, I believe, with him. And
Hmm.
so we could very well see Ricky maybe one day jump ship. And if that's the best decision for him going forward at some point in time, or either a Jack Perry, good for them. But I think right now they need to focus on where they are right now, present day, and garnering some singles momentum and championships. But two for two, I'm with you. Ricky Starks will get the win, and why not another former WWE talent putting over the young guys, right? Christian Cage and Chris Jericho. Let's go to let's see what match should we head to here. Let's go to the four-way tag team match for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. We have the
Mm.
current champions here, the Guns, Austin Gunn and Colton Gunn. It's very interesting. They're going up against the Acclaimed, who they defeated a couple of weeks ago for those tag titles. Bowens and Caster. Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett are also in this match, and then the latest additions, the fourth and final team, Orange Cassidy and Danhausen, who won that Casino Tag Team Battle Royale Wednesday on Dynamite. Now, I think it's fair to say, I'm just going to jump in here with
Mm.
my own prediction first.
Yeah.
Lethal and Jarrett, I don't think they are going to win. I don't think Orange Cassidy and Danhausen are going to win. And I'm a little bit confused as to why, uh, it's not a match of the Guns and the Acclaimed in a rematch, because the Acclaimed or Anthony Bowens a couple weeks ago, they said they want to use the rematch clause, right?
Hmm.
At Revolution against the Guns. I think the biggest question here is, why would you do it in a four-way tag team match to lessen the probability of you coming out victorious, right? Wouldn't you want to face
Yeah.
that team one on one or two on two, whatever, instead of having, a much lesser chance of winning, even though you are one of the favorites? So, A, that confuses me, but that's nor here nor there because this is the match we're getting regardless. I think the biggest thing here that we need to watch out for is Billy Gunn,
Mm.
Daddy Ass, um, if you will. He's been a big part of the Acclaimed the last, what, 4 or 5 months, ever since his sons turned on him. Um, it's been awesome seeing him in his interactions and helping put the Acclaimed over that much more. And the Acclaimed in retrospect, have helped bring him relevance. It almost feels like we're back in DX here. Not nearly as cool, but it's awesome, the whole Scissor Me thing and stuff like that. Is Billy Gunn gonna turn on the Acclaimed and join his sons? Because at the end of the day, is blood thicker than water? Can they get over their issues of the past and
Mm.
him be back with them? That's my biggest holdup, and I think this may be, now looking at it, my toughest decision to make as far as any of the championship matches are concerned. So I'm kind of here with you live, trying to sort this one out. I want to say the Guns are going to retain. I don't know how. I might say I don't know, but because if it was just the Guns and the Acclaimed here, just those two teams, I still may say the Guns, because then I would still say that Billy Gunn still may do some something against the Acclaimed. I'm not convinced that the Acclaimed are going to win their tag titles back, at least not in this match. So I'm going to stick to my Guns and
Right.
go with them. I'm going to go with the Guns retaining,
Good
and I'm going to go with the Guns retaining, and with the potential of Billy Gunn turning on the Acclaimed. Although I think it would be more noteworthy in a match just between the two teams. One way or another, I don't think it's the Guns' time to lose these titles just yet. Sorry for the long-winded. I'm trying to work this out here because it's tough when you have four teams.
Right.
Um, but even if it just was narrowed down to those two, I would still be at the same predicament, in my opinion. But what are your thoughts on this? I really want to hear your school of thought with
No,
this matchup.
fine. Seeing you break this down, just so that, like, the folks listening or the folks watching us is that when we go into these type of episodes, is that we we don't have this stuff planned out. It's like we see the matches listed and we're kind of trying to break it down in the moment. So that way you can get an understanding of why we struggle at times, picking said winners. Uh,
Kev, and I'm just interrupt for 2 seconds here.
yeah.
And you, as well as myself, or even when I'm on with Justin or Anthony or whomever my guest is, we usually have a pretty good idea of who we want or who we have winning. But you're stuck in a predicament like this, and whether it's a four-way or it's just two teams, you're gonna come to certain matches here, and you're gonna be like, but what if? There's so many variables.
Yeah. And it's funny that you were like saying Billy, being one of the variables, and of course that's the case. But I wasn't even considering that, to be honest. Is that so? I'll start off by saying, well, with my winners, I do think, and I hate that I'm agreeing with you. Is that like, yeah, I'm picking the Guns. I was saying before in previous episodes how I loved seeing Austin and his brother. We got to see them, take that next step in their careers where we got to see them getting a little bit of a push, and this was prior to them winning. We got to see them, really kind of shine more as a heel compared to when they were faces, because as a face, tag team,
Mm-hmm.
they weren't really doing it. But now they're starting to find their footing, in the company as heels. Um, and you were kind of breaking it down for me, well, breaking it down, and I was listening, and for me,
What was that? Was that Billy Gunn? Break it down. DX reference? What? It's the wrestling nerd in us, right?
yeah, that I see it. I'm gonna break it down by, I guess, probabilities or percentages, whatever. So I see the Guns having like a 60% chance of winning this match. I would
All right.
say the Acclaimed
Not
a,
opposed to that.
a 30% chance. So bear with me, we're at 90, and that only leaves 10%, two teams, and I think that leaves what is it? I'm gonna say Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett with a 10% chance, and Orange Cassidy and Danhausen with a 0% chance of winning. I don't see them winning whatsoever. And the reason I give Jay and Jeff a double J, that 10% is that I was thinking, like, what is it? You have the big man and
Oh, you have Satnam Singh and you have Sanjay Dutt. Yeah,
and
in
Sanjay,
their
yeah,
corner.
yeah. So that's what I was thinking. They can do some type of interference at any
Okay.
point. Screw over who's ever, looking like they're about to get the pin, and then come in and just do some shenanigans or whatever. Um,
Now, you don't think Orange Cassidy has a chance because what? He has no more room in his backpack for another title? Is that what you're saying here?
right. Well, I don't see uh Orange Cassidy being a holder of two belts at this point in time. Maybe some other,
That's Tony Khan's boy. You don't doubt
yeah.
that. He might be world champion before this weekend's over.
At this point in time, I know like you said, he's a fan favorite and everything, but no, I give them a 0% chance.
All right.
Um, and I mean, yeah. As for the situation with Billy, that's where I'm kind of left up in the air. Is that I don't know what's he gonna do. Is he gonna decide to like not get involved whatsoever? Is he gonna decide to like screw over his sons? Is he gonna screw over his his beloved
The
uh
acclaimed?
yeah, the Acclaimed? I don't know how he goes about it. And then if he does screw over, the Acclaimed, I don't know if he would decide to align himself back with the Guns, or does he just like go away from TV? I don't know what he does.
I think he goes with his sons. I think there's no doubt about it. You're just going to bring more heel heat on the team. That I
Right.
think they'll desperately. They're doing a great job on their own. Don't get me wrong, Austin and Colton, but it's going to give them that much more hate, dislike, disdain, especially if we do eventually get a rematch between the two. Because let's just say they say, oh, because of Billy's interference, we're now going to give them a match, just the Guns versus the Acclaimed, and we're going to see what happens amongst the two. Because I
Mhm.
feel like I don't know, I feel like the Acclaimed are going to win them back. Obviously I just don't know when. And I think that Billy cost the Acclaimed initially, which I could see as early as this Sunday. But I feel like when they do win the titles back, unfortunately, it will be without Billy. They'll get over the Guns storyline. Um, and then we'll see what happens with the Acclaimed going forward. Again, I gotta be totally off here.
Right.
It's just it's. I think the biggest thing is I'm trying to decipher how they're going to remove Billy from the equation. It's a lot easier to remove Billy from his sons naturally because it's like,
Mhm.
okay, boys, you got it from here. I'm just gonna go, opposed to Billy being removed from the Acclaimed. Like, there's got to be a definitive reason. Why are you suddenly not coming out with Anthony Bowens, with Max Caster? You're such a vital part of this run and this momentum, and you
Right.
can't just suddenly not have him out there anymore. So, and it's unfortunately all good things come to an end. So it's going to happen. And what better way to do it than to screw them against his sons who retain? By default, he goes back with them for a little bit, maybe till they cool off or till the Acclaimed wins them back. And then Billy maybe goes to his backstage role again, or maybe does manage the Guns going forward in non-title matches and stuff like that. But I think that is inevitable. I feel like that's inevitable at some point in time. I hate to see it, but I feel like it's coming sooner than later.
Yeah, I all definitely possible. And then I started considering another theory that people have thrown out there is that because people want it to throw shade to the Guns, saying you guys are transitional champions, you're gonna lose the next time your title's on the line. And I was thinking, what if this is the case of like they win, but then they end up getting attacked by FTR or something, you know?
You still believe it? Kev
Oh,
wants to. Kev
I
wants
don't
to
know.
see FTR back.
I don't.
We this
Well, I don't know
yeah.
if. Well, here's the
I mean,
thing.
I'm not opposed to it.
If we see FTR, I think that we can pretty much say comfortably like that. They're here to stay for like some more time in the company, another year or two, whatever, however long they want to sign. If we don't see them, then I think that's a sign that they are done with the company.
Well, I'll tell you what. If we do see FTR, especially in that capacity, maybe feuding with the Guns next, then that would lead me to believe that maybe there is not a rematch with the Acclaimed. That might be it for the Acclaimed in their tag title run. Do the Acclaimed need to win the tag titles back? Not necessarily. Could
No,
I see it? Yeah, because they're still very popular and over with the fans, obviously. And the variable again of Billy Gunn being involved amongst his sons and the team he's currently with. But if FTR is back and they're feuding with the Guns, which I seemingly they have unfinished business with, and they want to be two-time tag champs, then yeah, then the Acclaimed may be done for now in title contention.
right.
You know. All right. Well,
Oh,
that's that. That was our 20-minute dissertation of the tag title match. No, but that was definitely, I don't know about you, but that was to me the most difficult one probably on this card to figure out how they're going to go about that feud. So we have a Texas death match. We have John Moxley going up against Hangman Adam Page yet again. I would assume this is the conclusion of their long-standing feud. And who do you got here?
man. See, you struggled with that last match, and this is where I'm struggling. Uh, and I'm struggling just because if Moxley wins, I don't know how things go with him in the future, and if Hangman wins, I don't know where I see him going. And the reason I say that is because I've had this conversation with you offline a few times. Is that uh, and I don't know. I'm pretty sure I'm in the minority with this opinion. Is that like we've been watching since the formation of the company. First person that they quote unquote signed was one Adam Hangman Page is said to be, that the future, you know, like that megastar, like that guy, he's gonna be the top person of the company. And he's had all these different storylines, where he's been the lonely cowboy, kind of drifted when he drifted away from, the elite. He had he had his moments with them, his best friends, his buddies or whatever, trying to find a new group and all this, finally becoming champion and all these different things. And for me, it feels like I don't want to say it's all been for nothing, but all it's done for me is that it like the storyline of him becoming this megastar hasn't paid off, and I don't feel like it's ever going to pay off, to be honest. That's why I was telling you is that I think it's time that we like for me, I don't hold that much, praise like the way other people do for him. for me, I think it's just time to like say that like I think he's going to be really good in the company, but I don't ever see him being the face of the company. That's
I don't
just
think
my
he'll ever be top tier, you know.
yeah, yeah, that's just my personal opinion. Um, and this whole feud is a little bit weird to me because we had I don't know like when we had that match with initially with Moxley and then he got concussed, right?
Yeah.
And then we kind of had to put like a pause on that feud. Now this feud's coming back, you know, and that Hangman got the one up on him, and now we're having what the rubber match.
Mm-hmm. I think so. Again, I
It,
know I
it,
said earlier that I think
it's either like
might
the
be
third,
2-1,
yeah, it's either like the third or the
third or
fourth.
fourth.
See, this is where I'm struggling because if Hangman wins, like what does he go versus on MJF and then lose, and then where does that put him? You know what I mean? And if Moxley wins, I don't see him versing an MJF. Like his,
No.
I think he's gonna lose.
Well, to be
So that's
honest
why.
with you, I don't see
That's,
either one of them. I don't see either one of them going at a shot at the AEW World Title after this, regardless who comes out winner or loser.
it's tough for me. Like, and given all that, I don't know. This is one where I'm just gonna have to pick someone, even though I may not even support even support that. But
Okay.
I'm gonna say I'll give it to Hangman. I think Hangman will end up winning, although I don't know what it does to build his character, to be honest.
So from a character standpoint, I agree. From that, all right, whether he wins or loses, which obviously it's more important for him to win for any sense of the word of momentum, but
Right.
I don't think this is going to, propel him regardless, whether that's toward an eventual title opportunity of some sort or what, or to being more over with the fans. Do I think this win is necessary? Yes, much like it is in a different way for Jack Perry beating Christian, for Ricky Starks beating Jericho yet again,
Mm,
and I think that Hangman Adam Page needs to defeat Moxley because it's all about momentum. But again, as far as a character standpoint, I kind of think that he stands where he stands. Whereas you see Jungle Boy Jack Perry and Ricky Starks continually rising,
yeah.
I don't know if I want to go as far as to say Hangman has peaked
Yeah.
with the company, not as a professional wrestler. He's still very young. What is he, mid to late 20s?
Mm,
Hangman. But, from the sense of the word that he's already been AEW World Champion last year, been there, done that, defeating Omega and having a decent reign as champion till he lost to, what was it, CM Punk at Double or Nothing.
mhm.
Um, but yeah, I don't know where this takes him. I think I'm gonna also go with Hangman Adam Page here. I think, what is that? Are we is that 4 for 4?
Yeah, I think we're
We're on
full.
this in the same
Right.
boat here. So I do see that happening, but or think it should happen, but from a booking standpoint, I don't know where that takes him. Very bland. I do like him, much like you
Mm,
do, but I don't know, man. I don't know if there's anything that could really change our opinion or the general consensus of pro wrestling fans or AEW fans of Hangman going forward. I don't think it's going to bring us to be more interested in him.
yeah, yeah. And I don't want I don't want to get I don't want portray like this illusion that like I dislike him or I hate him or anything. I like him.
No, yeah,
It's
it's not about that.
I'm very critical of him. That's my whole thing. He's the one person that you know, I I'm trying to see what other people are seeing, and I'm just not seeing it. And for me, I'll throw that analogy out, and I used last episode is that I'm trying to look at him like through a microscope, and not with like the rose colored sunglasses or whatever.
And I
I
know
get
he's
no, sorry, you can go.
and I know he's trying to, or at least early on with AEW, was trying to really get over with the crowd
Yeah,
and
that
become
was gonna
one, whether it was just before COVID, whether it was taking swigs of people's beer in the
why he's.
audience. What's that?
I was gonna say yeah, yeah. Why he's a fan favorite? I was gonna allude to that.
Having that kind of a Austin persona. I'm gonna come down there. I'm gonna kick your ass. A country boy drinking beer.
Hmm.
And stuff like that. And I do understand that is the presentation we were kind of leaning towards, or that's kind of how it seemed to be presented. But it just like I wasn't buying it. And I'm kind of like you, where we're critical of him, but I don't think we're looking at him in a negative light. I think we want to enjoy Hangman Adam Page. We want to be big fans of him, and we want to see him in the big main title picture for years to come. But I don't think we really have a reason to be engaged and wanting to see him on our TV, right? You know,
Mm,
maybe hey, in a great mid card match or something like that, great mid card champion. But again, it goes back to you saying, do you see this guy necessarily being the face of the company and in years to come? And that I don't see, and that I
right.
don't see. So again, I mean, it's a regardless how you slice it. Um, it's gonna seem like a backhanded compliment. You know, we are rooting for him, but at the same time, we're just kind of
Right.
what I think most people are seeing right here and right now.
Yeah, because like I'll say it like this is like I don't see him as a Roman Reigns. I don't ever think I'll see him as like a Roman Reigns or a John Cena. That's I see him as a good wrestler, but I'm just not seeing him take the necessary steps that he should be taking if he wants to be like the top guy in the company. You know, being the best in the ring, whether being the best at promos and everything, his delivery is it's just like he's been good at everything that he does, but he hasn't been great or amazing.
And that's the thing. Has he executed it? I do believe he has. Is he trying? I do believe that he is. I just feel as if he's trying everything, but it's only getting him here. We're hoping he gets up here, and it's just kind of around here, and people are listening to this on audio. They're like, "What the hell is he talking about?" I'm putting a visual of reaching a certain level, eye level, and we expect him way over our heads to be
Yeah.
blowing our mind week in week out. Again, great wrestler, but he is where he is. Let's move on to match number 5, shall we? Let's move on to the AEW TNT Championship, which the associate did not correct me in the first half of Dynamite. I'm calling Samoa Joe and all these former champions the TBS champion. Jade Cargill's been the only TBS champion, but however, we're talking about the TNT Championship here. We have Samoa Joe, current champion, the king of television, as he refers to himself as. He's also the Ring of Honor television champion, going up against Wardlow, who he won this title from. What was it, back at Full Gear in November? So it's changed hands a few times. Darby Allin had won it from Joe, and then Joe won it back from Darby Allin just a few weeks ago. So who do you got coming out with the victory here, and then going on to face Powerhouse Hobbs next Wednesday on Dynamite? Who's the number one contender?
Oh man, I think that Samoa Joe's gonna end up winning, and I hope that Hobbs ends up beating him. That would be like the best scenario that I would hope
Okay,
for.
heel
Um,
versus heel.
right, and will someone ends up taking that babyface role eventually, just because I kind of hate the way that the TNT title is presented as like realistically it should be the secondary kind of like an intercontinental US title,
And they're
but
not treating it as such.
they don't treat it that way just because you're always playing hot potato with it, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, they are.
And it feels so disrespectful to that title, you know. It doesn't get its proper reigns from any of its wrestlers that end up holding it. Um, so that's why I'm kind of hoping that we can get something refreshing with the Will Hobbs or Powerhouse, you know, becoming the champion.
Speaking of the Intercontinental Championship, and I at this standpoint, and as we've seen over the past few years, I don't believe the TNT Championship will ever become what we thought it would be in the sense of an Intercontinental Championship, a workers' title in AEW. What I do hope it is, we've only had two so far, Pac and currently Orange Cassidy. I do hope that at some point in time, especially because the title is beautiful, way nicer than the TNT Championship, in my opinion. I hope that the AEW All Atlantic Championship can eventually be brought to the level of prestige of the Intercontinental title. Again, as we've mentioned in previous episodes, Konosuke Takeshita, that's a name that we speak about very often. For
Yeah.
one, holding that title, giving it the notoriety that it needs. Guys like that, I would love to see really bring that title out, defend it on a daily basis, and then hopefully we do get that title in AEW that resembles an IC belt.
Right. So yeah, hopefully. So what you're alluding to is like that the All Atlantic title could end up taking that secondary place in the
Yeah.
company compared to
Hmm.
the TNT, which right now it feels like it's dropping in its face value.
And I don't know if it ever will. Not to say again, it has nothing to do with the notable champions are not that have held that title. There's been quite a few. And that's the problem.
Right.
There has been quite a few very often. I mean, AEW hasn't even been around 4 full years yet, and you have guys like Cody Rhodes, who's already left AEW over a year ago. What is he? At least a two-time TNT champion. Of course, the late great Brody Lee was a champion, TNT champion. Sammy, I want to say, has won it 3 times. Scorpio Sky twice. Darby Allin twice. Samoa Joe twice.
Right.
Wardlow has a reign in there. I think I got everybody. I may have missed one or two in the midst, but it's like, damn, how do you have that many champions already? And it hasn't even with multiple title reigns. So again, I don't know if it's ever going to live up to that IC title prestige. I would love to see it. Just hey, you know what? It's a TV title. If it gets defended on a Dynamite or Rampage and it changed hands twice in the last 3 weeks, so be it. I guess we could kind of live with it because guess what? This All Atlantic Championship is now the title to hold if you're not the company's champion.
Mm.
So why not do something like that? So your pick for this match, you have Samoa Joe retaining.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the first match that I'm going to disagree with you.
Right. There we go.
There we go. At least we have something, some kind of high stakes value here. Um, I'm gonna go with Wardlow. I'm gonna go with Wardlow here. He's pissed off. Samoa Joe cut his hair a few months ago. Can no longer tie it up. He's got a short cut now, and he wants to seek revenge. And then we're gonna get that bait again. It's not a big deal that we would see heel versus heel next week on Dynamite. Samoa Joe versus Hobbs, but I do think we're gonna see Wardlow become AEW TNT champion for a second time, going up against Hobbs. And I mean, as much as I would love to see Hobbs get the win and get
Mm.
the title, which I think he deserves. Again, we'd be back to the same position, hot potato in the title.
Right.
Four champions in 4 weeks, and two in 1 week, 2 in 4 days. So we can't do that. So obviously, I would have Wardlow retaining against Hobbs. But hey, look, if your pick wins, Samoa Joe, then I'm all for Hobbs defeating him Wednesday on Dynamite. But I got to stick to my guns here, and I have Wardlow winning that.
Right.
Let's go to match number 6. Three-way match for the AEW Women's World Championship. Current champion Jamie Hayter. I'm sure Britt Baker will be with her, right? We could bet on that. Saraya
Yeah.
will probably have Tony Storm, and then Ruby Soho, most likely flying solo. I know she used to have some kind of alliance with Willow Nightingale. I don't know where she's been. I know she was recently added to the Ring of Honor roster, which, by the way, I know they did their first official tapings this past week. I believe it was in Orlando, Florida, I want to say.
Mm.
The Ring of Honor. Did you see anything in regards to that?
Not yet, but I'll be looking into that, just seeing how things
I want to say
are.
it was last weekend or the top of the week where they started doing their. They showed the whole set. Very similar to like an NXT type of deal.
Okay.
But very. It seemed like I don't know any of the matches that took place. Guess they'll be coming out in the coming days or weeks on Honor Club. But anyway, Willow Nightingale's not with Ruby Soho, so she'll be flying solo. And so I'm gonna tell you right here, I see Jamie Hayter retaining her championship, and that's the bottom line. It's not her time to lose yet. She's really hasn't had a lot of title defenses in the last couple months since she's been champion. So Saraya and Ruby Soho, it should be a decent match, but they're not going to be the new champ.
Hmm. Yeah, and this is where we go back to having the same picks. Is that I think Jamie's going to end up, of course, winning. But what I would like to see from this match itself is, you know, build, kind of like really help the resume of Jamie Hayter. I guess that's the best way to put it. Is that we know that she has been a great, wrestler on the roster, but we haven't really seen her, be a great champion yet. Is what
No.
I'm alluding to. Is that I want to see her like I don't know whether she dominates or whether she struggles in this match. I just wanted to somehow play to her character, build it up, help like that resume. And then I don't know if this starts a feud with like just a one off with like a Soraya or Ruby Soho, whatever. But yeah, by all means, I'm just hoping that this is a good match for all of them.
And I'm going to go here and say that I have zero interest in seeing Jamie Hayter go one on one with Saraya or Ruby Soho after this. And that's no knock necessarily to Soho or Saraya. I just think let's start with size advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Jamie Hayter is a much bigger competitor than both of these two women. And not that there's a hell of a lot of women in AEW, that could match up to her from a size standpoint. Maybe Willow Nightingale, maybe a Jade Cargill, Chris Statlander when she's back. There's probably a few others that
Nyla
I'm not
Rose,
thinking of. Who's that?
um, Nyla Rose.
Nyla Rose, of course,
Yeah,
right? We
so
haven't
there's
seen her
only
in a
like
while.
something
There's
like
a
that.
handful, right, that could really, match up with her from that standpoint. But even if we're just talking from a talent standpoint, I'm not interested in a feud as much as they're trying to build up this Tony Storm Saraya against a Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter for what, the better part of a month, well over a month, actually way longer than that. It's been since September since Saraya debuted when she was a babyface and Britt Baker was the heel. So we've seen this dynamic for the better part of 4 or 5, going on 6 months now. No interest in it. Now I
Mhm.
can't give you off the bat somebody I'd like to see in the ring necessarily with Jamie Hayter after Revolution Sunday. Do you have any woman that comes to mind that you'd like to see Hayter go one-on-one against going forward?
The only match I can think of, but well, I should say the competitor is, you know, like a Sky Blue, but a Sky Blue doesn't feel like she's there yet. I feel like it
Mm-hmm.
would be a match, but it feels like it would be a great match if it wasn't for a title.
On Dynamite. I
Yeah,
mean,
just
even well, I mean, I would do a title match, but I would just add it to the notch on the belt. Like, hey, I had a great match with Sky Blue on Dynamite
mm,
or Rampage or whatever, but it certainly wasn't pay-per-view worthy. But it was another title defense. I would say that. So Sky Blue is a good, opponent. Um, yeah, I really don't know who I would put up against her at this time. It really screws things up with Athena being the Ring of Honor Women's Champion because I'd like to see her in the mix
right.
against the likes of a Jamie Hayter and stuff like that. But she's kind of in her own lane as champion over there, so that kind of removes her from the conversation for the time being and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't have one off top, but let's head over to match number 7. We have a 6-man tag team match for the AEW World Trios Championships rather. The Elite, Kenny Omega, Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson going up against the House of Black. It's Malachi Black, Brody King, and Buddy Matthews. What do you see coming out with the win here?
I've been saying it for a while is that I really don't want the Elite as trios champion. So for me, we said it wasn't much of a build up whatsoever to this feud. But I see House of Black, winning this, these titles, I should say, and hopefully, developing more to that whole character that they have, this mystique around them, is that because without titles, it felt like I feel like they wouldn't be taken seriously, and then I guess the best example I could give you is that they would feel um like the Wyatt family, you know.
I get it. I
Yeah.
get it. The uncrowned champions per se.
Yes, exactly.
No, I agree with that. As much as I'd like to see the House of Black win this and you have them coming out with a victory, um, you know, the lack of build doesn't get me as much as, we know it's going to be a great match regardless who comes out with the win. I'd love to see the House of Black, but I'm not sold on them winning. I'm really not. Obviously, it could happen. And obviously, they deserve every bit of being champion right now. A broken record. I think they should have been the inaugural champs back in September. I'm going to go with the Elite, though. I'm going to go with the Elite in this one. That's 2 picks. We have difference of opinions. Um, yeah, I'm going to go with the Elite here. And House of Black, did they get a rematch down the line? Possibly. Maybe on an episode of Dynamite. I don't think it would string all the way out to a Double or Nothing unless it was against maybe a different team. If someone else would eventually knock the Elite off. But yeah, I got to go with the Elite here. And yeah, final answer. Going
All
with them.
right. Well, let me play. I don't know. I don't know if I would say this is double advocates, but let me give you the scenario of, you're gonna get tired of hearing this name. What if I throw out FTR coming back?
Oh Lord, there we
Yeah,
go. For
uh,
the third time in 2 episodes.
FTR, and I don't know,
CM
because
Punk.
yeah, CM Punk. There we go. Yeah, and then versus the Elite.
I've heard that before. I've
Yeah,
heard that in the recent week or two.
I don't know if people would want it, would really want to see that match,
People would
because
want to see that match.
because then if uh they would, well, like, let's say FTR and Punk win.
Hmm.
I don't know how the trios division goes from there.
Good
Regardless,
point. No, good point. That's a great point. But one thing I will tell you is it buys AEW time. It buys AEW time of potentially working on building up this trios division, bringing in a CM Punk and FTR together to be eventual champs to dethrone the Elite. That'd be great. I think people would love to see that. And dating back to the whole Brawl Out fiasco, as people refer to as in September. But
Mm.
and then I'd love to eventually see, of course, the House of Black being the ones who took it off of um, Punk and FTR. There isn't much of a division in the trios. I know they did Top Flight and AR Fox. Um, who else
Yeah,
do we got here?
yeah, that triangle,
Yeah, you got
I,
Death Triangle. You do have Death Triangle, right? Of course, the champs prior to. You have, I mean, I guess what Reynolds, Silver, and if you factor in Evil Uno, Dark Order, still technically,
mm,
don't consider them true contenders, in my opinion.
yeah,
Respectfully, I guess. So there's not a whole heck of a lot. So if they're able to make it work, and especially against the Elite, where you have storyline. I mean, come on, that's a jackpot there. If you get Punk and FTR going up against them, so that'd be fun. I don't know when you'd incorporate them, but maybe as early as the next episode of Dynamite.
right, yeah.
But all right, so let's
I'm
take.
just gonna say, sorry to go
No,
back,
no,
but
go
even
ahead.
even if my pick were to win, I don't know what it really does with the whole trios division, anyways.
Yeah, the House of Black wins. The titles. Is it a rematch with the Elite? Do they move forward and have a match with who? Like I said, maybe AR Fox and Top Flight. I don't know outside of that, really. Of course,
It
like you said, Death Triangle.
it just sucks it that the trios division really hinders the tag team division when the tag team division is capable of being so much more.
Yeah. I mean, they have a lot of tag teams. Now, is Aussie Open officially signed to AEW, or are they just still visiting from New Japan? Because they've been on AEW TV, AEW television a lot the last couple of weeks.
I'm I'm not 100% sure, to be honest, just because
Because they've been Ring of Honor, they've been AEW, and I guess they're making most of their time while they're in the States, rightfully so. But I mean, that's another great addition. In short, I mean, there's the tag team division is definitely there, but like you said, they bounce back and forth a lot because they have to put together these trios teams.
right, and I feel like I read something about them recently, but I'm not. But that's the thing is that I'm not sure if it was that team or another team. So I don't want to like uh give the incorrect information and do
All
something.
right, so we don't know if they're contractually with AEW, just visitors at this point.
Right. So
All right, well, hey, look, they do have a great tag division, and like we've discussed in previous episodes, we'd like to see the focus be brought back more so to the tag team division. They're a little distracted because I don't want to use the word the hindrance, but the obvious situation of there being trios titles, you need trios contenders, and it seems they put a legit tag team together with the plus one, and they're third wheeling it to a trios match. And we want to see more staples that are actual trios teams. But that's not easy to come by though. When you implement trios titles, you also got to know you're going into a situation where you're not always going to have a Death Triangle or a House of Black, right? The Elite, thankfully, they've had this long-standing relationship where Omega could join the Bucks, even though you're not a big fan of it. You think they thrive better as tag and singles, but you're going to run into this issue going forward a lot when you're trying to especially go forward with storylines and not continue to go back and have rematches.
right, because it feels like if anything, it's just gonna be a whole bunch of makeshift teams. Um, and this sounds very silly breaking it down this way is that like when you have a singles match, right, it's two people, one and one. When you have a tag match, it's four people, two and two. And now when you throw in the mix of uh, the trios division, it's like you got to make sure that you have got three people over here and three people over there, and it just takes away from other divisions.
No, it does, right? I mean, it takes away from both the namely the tag team division because singles you're going to have plenty of singles superstars and you could always balance. Hey, look, I'm not going to push this guy, but maybe 3 or 4 months from now, I'll push him in a singles realm, mid card, main title. But you could get to that. But when you yank a few tag teams out of the equation, it's significant, and the whole division feels it. So, implementing these trios titles isn't easy. That's why not everybody does it. I mean, WWE hasn't. AEW now has, of course, what New Japan has, right? Who
Mm-hmm.
else off top has trios? Anybody else that you know?
I'm not sure if ROH ever had that. I'm not
How
sure.
about any of the Mexican promotions? Does AAA or what's the other one? CMLL, is it?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm not entirely sure just because I'm not super invested.
Yeah, you and me both. I'm
But
not very familiar either.
it, yeah,
It's
those,
hard to juggle.
yeah, it, it's funny because like we had always talked about like um like a women's tag division always being very difficult to implement. But the way I'm thinking about it now, it really seems like a men's or anyone like a trios title is even more difficult. I don't know.
When you were watching New Japan rather often, right? Let's say when obviously Omega, the Bucks, whomever were there, Bullet Club was heavily involved more than ever.
Mhm.
When they did do the trio spit, how many teams on a daily basis that were legitimate teams did you have to really, juggle or take into account?
Well, the thing is that it felt like they would using a lot of because like they would have like big stables, like a what did you call it? Like a Bullet Club. They had Chaos. They had Suzuki Goons. Like these big factions that you could say were, like I said, like a DX or NWO, where you could just pull different members and create like
Create a trios on a
a
spot.
trios.
Were they using a lot of? I get the faction part. Were they using a lot of definitive tag teams with a +1, or was it like any three from my group, like more times than not?
It felt like that, and of course like makeshifts.
Okay, which is cool because if it's actually from your faction, you can do it. It's no sweat. It's tough to do on a whim when you really don't have that in AEW. You have tons of tag teams. Yeah, you got a couple factions here and there, don't get me wrong, but not so much so where you can just bam, throw three guys out there on a daily basis like, "Hey, we're ready to roll."
Yeah,
That's tough, man. It's tough. That's why less is more, right? It's exciting to see another set of titles here, but at the same token, it's one more thing you got to make time for, TV time and storyline and stuff like that. Let's
yeah.
head to the eighth and final match, right?
Mhm.
Well, as it stands at this very moment, the eighth match right now. It's probably not the final, but
Yeah.
this is what we're going with here. We got a 60-minute Iron Man match for the AEW World Championship. Champion since Full Gear in November, MJF, going up against Bryan Danielson. Now, I know we didn't at the top of the show. I meant to ask you what match are you looking forward to the most. I'm going to start by saying I am most looking forward to this Iron Man match. If I had a runner up, I would probably say I'm looking forward to the Trios Championships, um, as we just discussed. What match are you looking forward to the most?
Ooh,
And then,
man.
of course, give me your pick for this main event.
That feels like it might be the toughest question of the night. Which one am I looking forward to the most?
It's a pretty
I'm
good
just
card.
I'm looking at the list, up and down. Uh, I don't want to pick the you know the AEW World Title just because I mean it does have Bryan Danielson, but at the same time it also has MJF, who who's just okay in the ring. You know what I mean? He's not gonna blow me away with his move set.
Hmm.
Man,
How about the intrigue involved? Not to sway you at all, but the intrigue involved with a 60 man battle royale, a 60 minute Iron Man match. I mean, the fact that we're looking at an hour here, and of course we know the in ring technician that Danielson is. We know that MJF is as good of a wrestler he is. He's most known for his mic skills. So it's hard to say best match of the night with MJF. I get that, but at the same token, the curiosity factor of how this is going to play out, that's where I'm at. I know there may be a lot more notable matchups going into this.
all right.
Page Moxley, Elite, House of Black, Samoa Joe, Wardlow. I get that, but I'm gonna have to lean towards this Iron Man match.
Uh,
If you need a minute, go ahead and think about it in the back of your mind while you let me know who you got winning this.
I guess I'll just throw out the 6 man tag
Okay, the trios
title
titles. Okay, hey,
as
it's
being
not bad. That's my number two pick.
And as for who I believe is going to end up winning this Iron Man match, I'm going to go with MJF. I don't see MJF losing the title uh, that soon into his run.
Yeah, no way.
I I see him being, you know, the salt of the earth, and get whether it being using some weapons, some low blows, whatever the ring that he has.
Yeah, man, the dynamite
I
diamond ring or some brass knuckles. We could easily.
Yeah,
I was gonna say I could see some brass knuckles or something. Obviously, he's not beating Bryan Danielson in a singles match,
in a
Iron
fair
Man
way.
match. Nonetheless, fair.
Yeah.
He will cheat. He will win.
Mhm.
And I agree with you. MJF gets the victory. Is It's very early in his title reign. We're only a few months in here. I'll be holding it at minimum to the summer. Wouldn't be surprised if he holds it for the duration of the year.
No,
Um,
I don't think if anything,
Lose at
I
full gear, make it 1 year, or as
hmm,
early as All Out. Because I think he's going to make it through Double or Nothing. I do think he will go into the summer as champion.
yeah, I think he loses it at all out.
Okay. All right.
Hmm.
Got a few months until then, but all right. So we agreed on 6. Difference of opinion on 2. Of course, that being you having Samoa Joe, me having Wardlow. And then what was the other match that we had difference of opinion? Oh, of course, you have the House of Black winning, and I have the Elite. Look, I won't be mad if I get that one wrong. The House of Black, it's been a long time coming for them. They've all deserved gold in one way or another. And if it ain't going to be singles, at least give them the trios titles. They got a great leading lady with them, their valet, Julia Hart, which we haven't seen wrestle a whole hell of a lot. I'm sure she's been wrestling probably on AEW Dark Elevation or Dark Mondays or Tuesdays on YouTube. But the hell, who's watching that, right? All due respect, it's just there's
I
so
was
much to watch on regular TV. I mean,
right. There's a lot of different programmings that are usually on at that time as well.
yeah,
So and you could always use the excuse, you don't have to watch it at that exact time, but
true.
there's just so much. Um, and we've discussed that in the past of like how we feel about
Yeah, yeah, of course, without going, down that path, of course. But yeah, again, pretty good card we got here, and a lot of rematches, a lot of long-standing storylines, which hopefully will culminate and come to a finish, and we could get started going into, after the last, couple months of the new year.
Right.
Hopefully, we go into latter part of March with new storylines and something refreshing.
Well, that's the thing is that I'm happy you kind of like brought that up. Is that as a, like for like a closing statement is that regardless of any of these results that end up taking place at Revolution, is that these storylines basically need to have some definitive results, right? Um, consequences, whatever you want to say, and then that moves it forward to something new. Is that you can't just keep going in a circle with these storylines, because
Hmm.
that's one of AEW's biggest problems. Is that we've noted like time management, and then another thing is that these storylines tend not to pay off. They need to have some type of end result.
Yeah, that's the bottom line. We need something new and refreshing after this is said and done. We need a definitive end result, and hopefully, for the most part, the future of the company is put over correctly
Mm-hmm.
and gets the momentum they need going forward. Look, last bit, and then we're getting the heck out of here. I know we spoke about this last month about you actually brought the topic up to me for WWE and AEW, but as far as AEW is concerned, since that's what we're talking about here, I'll say mine, and then you go ahead and say yours. You said, what is a fantasy faction that you would put together with current superstars? Now,
Oh,
if my memory serves me correct for mine, because I certainly don't remember yours, but I'm trying to remember mine. I had Swerve Strickland, Powerhouse Hobbs, Scorpio Sky, Red Velvet, and am I missing somebody? Did I have Stokely Hathaway as the manager of
yeah,
that
yeah.
group? Those were my 5. Of course, I don't have a name um, in mind, but I think that would be an awesome faction. Putting those 5 together, that would be something else. What was your group
My,
from AEW that your fantasy faction?
I don't think I ever created one from AEW, but I only created one from WWE.
Okay, so I did both. You did WWE.
Yeah,
Well,
and
look,
my
I'm gonna put you on the spot here. That's even better.
Oh
Uh,
man,
just do this. It doesn't have to be
the
etched in
audience
stone.
have an hour.
Oh God, yeah. Let's expedite this because it's already been a lengthy episode here. But this you could always go back and change it if you want. But on a whim, five AEW superstars, and I'm gonna say this:
Uh,
you don't need a manager like I did. I had it very well orchestrated with Stokely Hathaway and such. But I'll say, give me five superstars, but one of them has to be a female, and the other four, male. Doesn't have to be that, but I would say at minimum. What do you got? They bring you in today. They say, "Hey, Kev, put a
I,
faction
see,
together, associate."
I already had five off the top of my mind where I was going to
Great.
cheat.
All right.
Um, adding the female wrestler element into this just kind of like threw me off. So, man,
I'll tell you what. Give me one female that you think putting her in a faction as the leading lady would give her the oomph and the necessary push to propel her in the women's division today. Who's kind of been on the fence, maybe not getting the respect she deserves, the wins, the booking that could put her over with a faction, a dominant faction in AEW.
man. See, I was going to go a completely different route. I
All
just
right,
like,
hey, I'm here for it. I'm just here for her encouragement. What were you gonna go with?
I was thinking of like a Tony Storm.
All right, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah,
Tony
and
Storm. I mean, realistically, even though she was AEW Women's Champion for a few months, the argument could be made that she does need that push because even though she's booked rather frequently,
right.
you got to remember her whole title reign coming off of that win back it all out. Who'd she beat for the interim women's championship? Because obviously
Ooh,
Thunder Rosa was holding it, and then who Tony Storm defeat to become interim champion? Was it
my memory's not serving me well right
Yeah,
now.
I'm slipping these days as well. Um, anyway, long story short, I say that because her whole title reign, those few months, was interim women's world champion. So she has every right to have a chip on her shoulder, as she is a heel right now, to say, "Hey, look, I didn't come here to be an interim champion. I want a title shot, and I want to become champion again to be the actual AEW Women's World Champion." So the argument could be made that she isn't getting the respect that she deserves from a storyline standpoint.
You know what? Scratch it. Scratch that.
All that, and now you're removing her. I
Yeah.
just put over a whole case as to why she has every reason to get the respect. All right, what do you got?
Sky Blue. I'll just say Sky Blue, just
Son of a,
because.
what the hell was this 2 minutes ago? Sky blue. Give you sky blue. All right, so
Um,
sky blue. That's good. I'm not going to say anything else because you'll probably change your mind again. Sky blue. Give
right.
me four guys here. Let's get out of here.
Uh, it'll be MJF. It'll be Darby. It'll be Jungle Boy. Sammy. And
Oh, the pillars. You're putting the pillars together. Do you
yeah,
think that
so
all this?
we create so we can finally have the pillar
You think they could coexist?
in some way, in some crazy way. I'm sure AEW could do it. They could
Here,
find a way to.
so here's my thing. Sky Blue, Darby Allin, Jungle Boy, Jack Perry, those three, I have zero doubt they could coexist. How do you have guys like Sammy Guevara and MJF coexist? Their
Right.
heads are too big to be in the same room. They cannot. that ain't happening. I don't care how you book it. Um, I might. Well, I mean, hey, these are your picks, not mine. So don't let me. Those are your picks. Final answer.
You don't kill my
I'm,
fantasy, all right?
what's that?
Don't kill my fantasy.
Yeah, hey, look what you do on your own time. Hey, no, honestly, I am surprised though that you say the unrecognized fifth pillar, if you will, your guy, Absolute Ricky Starks. I'm surprised you didn't add him in some
Well,
capacity.
I was about to add him.
Oh,
Uh,
instead of a female, Sky Blue.
yeah, but once you said you know, uh, oh, hell, just throw him in there, make it a six-person group.
All right, well, now that I convinced you, all right, very interesting, very interesting. That would be. And it's funny because Ricky Starks, I feel like he's not quite like MJF or Sammy as far as like, you know, thinking a whole heck of a lot of themselves, but
Mhm.
more so than Darby and Jungle Boy. So he's kind of like in between.
Right.
Very interesting. Very
And
interesting.
as for the leader, did you ever pick a leader or no?
Yeah, no, my leader hands down is Swerve Strickland. That's why you got the veteran Scorpio Sky, you got the big man, the Muscle and Powerhouse Hobbs. You got your manager Stokely Hathaway, and then you have your female talent Red Velvet.
Yeah, well, listen, you were put on the spot like I was, all right?
You're right. I thought of this a month ago, but you were the one who planted the seed here, so
Yeah.
I do appreciate you mentioning that. And for some reason, I thought you had an AEW one. I mean, you still came up with one, but I thought you had that
Nope.
as well. But it was a WWE faction. All right, we're getting out of here, folks. I promise you that. Okay, wait, one last question. You've heard
Oh,
this before.
yeah.
Jade Cargill's not on the pay-per-view. That's fine. She's 52, 53 and 0.
Mm.
Man, are we just really waiting for a healthy Chris Statlander to come back? I'm assuming she'll be back by Double or Nothing. Is that who we're going to have dethrone Jade at Double or Nothing? Chris Statlander.
Ah, man, if that's the way that Tony wants it, that's what it
Because
feels
you know
like.
he's stubborn. He's stubborn and he'll stick to something even if it takes a year.
Right.
So I could see
I,
that.
I gave you my pick a while ago, and the stars just haven't lined up. It was
Soraya.
Soraya.
Yeah.
Soraya.
Yeah, I don't, as time wears on, it looks less and less likely to me. But hey, look, I do think she would win the TBS championship before she wins the AEW Women's World Championship, which she's in contention for, Sunday night. See. Well, associate, thank you for joining me. I appreciate you twice in 1 week. Usually you give me your monthly appearance, but this is pretty good. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm sure as your viewers already know is that we could talk about wrestling nonsensically for hours.
Yeah, as we were well on our way to talking about
Yeah,
fantasy factions and who's eventually going to dethrone Jade. I mean, hey, look, the questions just keep on coming. I'm going to leave it at that, though. So, thank you, everybody, once again for tuning in to the Turnbuckle Topics podcast. That's the associate. I'm your host, Pat Dineen. And yeah, enjoy AEW Revolution Sunday night. Should be a good one. Tony Khan, I'm getting in my earpiece now. He's adding more matches as we speak. So sorry if we missed out on a few. You know how he rolls. And yeah, I look forward to reviewing the show in the coming week, and we'll see how we fared. Right, associate?
absolutely, man. We'll see how who gets the bragging rights.
Yeah, we'll see. We have a few difference of opinions, so that will make all the difference. All right, folks. Thanks for tuning in yet again. We'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening.